Wednesday, October 1st. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, comics are for boys.
Let's do this.
So today, I decided that I wanted to get a challah, but of course, there's a crazy line to get challahs on the train station on the way home.
It's Rosh Hashanah, so challah is very popular on Rosh Hashanah too.
Yeah, but as a result, I left work early, and I even said, when they said, why are you leaving work? I said, I gotta get a challah.
That's right. If you gotta get a challah today, you gotta wake up real early.
To which my coworker said, you're not Jewish.
So?
And I was like, yeah, I want a challah. What do you want? So I get in line, right? And there's this Jewish guy. Like, he looked very, like, traditional, possibly Hasidic. And he's standing at the
Wait, he was wearing, like, the big hat and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't think he was...
crazy beard and...
He wasn't that crazy. He was kind of young. But he's standing there, right? So I walk, there's this line. And he's asking everyone who comes up, like, are you Jewish?
Oh, he's asking everybody. So he's probably from the, what are those people
Yeah, but
called?
anyway, my story gets interesting. Because you know me, I do not shy from a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So I get up there, and he seems to, because the guy in front of me gets like a cupcake, and he doesn't ask him. I think he's only asking the people who buy challahs.
Duh.
So I buy my challah, and he says, excuse me, are you Jewish? And I say, no, I don't really believe in God. And he says, neither do I, but I believe in honey and bread. And I was like, I also believe in honey and bread. And he was like, have a good day. And I was like, you too. Either he was an atheist or he has a sense of humor, and I'm okay with either one of those.
That's the thing, is you'd be surprised how many Jews are atheists, and some of them have twisted logics and some of them don't, but it's...
Well, I think the thing is that very few people who aren't Christian will say they're Christian, because there's the religion, and then like culture is all different, but there's the Jewish religion and the Jewish culture, and a lot of people who are one are not the other, and vice versa.
No, but there are even people who are religiously Jewish, but they don't actually, like, there'll be a guy, you look at him, he's a rabbi, doesn't actually literally believe in any sort of deity whatsoever.
But he believes in the milk and the honey.
Yeah. They're Jewish for other reasons, and they keep kosher for other reasons besides God will smite you.
No, he's psychic for his own reasons.
Exactly.
Anyway, that was the most exciting thing that happened to me today.
On the train on the way home today, there was, the doors on the train. It seems like wherever I sit on the train these days, the door is broken. I must have a broken door.
So the vestibule is just loud and everyone's angry.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it won't open, right? And today, it was the weirdest situation yet. The door, right? You would push the button, and sometimes the button would do nothing, but sometimes it would work just fine. But... everyone just kept manipulating the door a whole bunch, and it eventually would only open halfway. And this guy sitting near me actually was a smart guy, and he kept going to actually try to fix it. The conductor didn't do shit. The conductor just puts it in manual mode, opens it all the way, and walks away. He doesn't care.
That's fine, because then you can close it and open it.
Right. But, this guy actually kept trying to fix it, and he did fix it a couple of times. But then every time someone came up to it, it was broken again. And you would see, like, a person would manipulate it a whole bunch, and they would push the button. It doesn't work. Push, like 10 times. It's like... What are you doing, dude? It didn't work the first time. It's not going to work the second time. It's not good, The
best is when you see someone who walks up and they fiddle with it and they finally get it open and there's someone behind them. That person does not learn from the person who just failed.
Exactly what I was about to say. It was like there was a line of people and every single person kept coming up and making the same stupid mistakes and fiddling with the door for 10 minutes. The door's open halfway right now. It's not going to be fixed unless you actually stop and fix it, which you obviously don't know how to do.
So, Scott,
walk around it and keep going.
Scott, was the moral of the story that you didn't have anything to do on the train? Because usually...
No, I was reading a book on the train.
Usually I don't pay attention to the drama of the door.
I don't either, but I was sitting right next to the door, and I was reading my book, but every time someone came up to the door, they were kicking it a whole bunch and made a lot of noise.
And as they stormed the mountain and kicked him to death.
Right, exactly. So... I think what it is that I think in general we need to have more people need to learn how to fix things.
We need door training.
That's it. We also need
the use of doors as like a first grade class.
I think we also just need. It seems like
people learn how to open the fuck out of doors.
It seems like in our culture, there's a thing against just going up and fixing something that's broken if it's not yours or not your responsibility. Almost like you're not supposed to fix something if it's not yours. Like you might get in trouble for doing good. And I think we need to get away
I don't
from.
know. I think mostly just people don't. It's not a matter of people are afraid. They just really don't care.
Yeah,
I mean,
but there are
I'm
also
not-
many
I'll-
situations where if you know how to fix, like if someone has a problem with their computer, you can't just go up and fix it. Yeah. I don't know.
I wouldn't anyway because that's not worth my time.
I know, but it's frustrating when something's broken. It's like I could have gotten out my Leatherman, opened up the little panel, and actually fixed the door, but no, I would have got in trouble.
highly doubt that you would have been able to fix the
No,
door.
because I knew exactly what was wrong with it.
What was wrong with it?
There was a thing stuck that got slid under the door there that was stuck in there, keeping it from open all the way. I would have just opened it up and taken that, whatever piece of junk got in there out.
I'm dubious of your ability to perform maintenance on the train door. It's kind of complicated in there.
I think I can remove a piece of junk. I can remove a paper jam. I can remove a piece of junk. It's the
PC
same
load letter?
mechanism. The point is that I would have gotten in
The
serious
point is
trouble.
that you just talked for quite a while about the door on the train
Yeah,
that wouldn't open all the way.
that's right.
But anyway, maybe anime? Maybe?
I don't know. There's not so much news going down.
There's some news. You see, the previous weekend was the New York Anime Festival 2008 in New York
which
City.
we went to for like the shortest amount of time possible.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we've been doing, we've kind of gotten to this point where we do so many panels at cons that where our plan is actually to kind of scale back and do fewer, higher quality panels.
Yeah, it's a good plan. I've also noticed just at anime conventions in general, like there's less for me to do. Like I went there, I literally did 3 panels, walked and saw everything in the dealer's, exhibition room once, and then I was done. I did nothing on the schedule I wanted to go to except the MC Chris concert, which I missed.
Well, we had to do the Gekiga Goodbye, of course, but part of it's that that's not, every anime con's different, and like Otakon has a different vibe from the New York Anime Festival, different vibe from Katsucon, and there wasn't really much of a hanging out con. It's more of a, all right, you live nearby and you're into anime. It's worth it pretty much for anyone who's into anime to go there for one of the 3 days because there's stuff to do.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of hanging out. Like kids were just hanging out, making mischief all over the place, and the hallways and the lobbies and all, et cetera, et cetera. But it really wasn't so exciting for me to be there, other than to give the panels and the look around the room once. That was it. I was done.
Yeah, well, then again, it's not like, there were events I kind of actually wanted to go to, but
Like
we literally showed up to do the 3 panels. And
Oh,
then it was,
that's the other thing I missed that I did want to see was I wanted to see the girl who does Anime News Nina, Robin Savakis.
yeah,
she was there.
I wanted to see MC Chris again.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard, sadly, that not many people went to the MC Chris concert.
Oh, so sad.
MC Chris is awesome. He's no MC Frontalot, but he's awesome.
I don't know. I think they should tag team.
I don't know. They don't really have the same style. MC Chris is mostly, he stands there and yells at you unmelodically but funnily. Meanwhile, MC Frontalot kind of raps at you. It's a different vibe.
Yeah, it is a different vibe, but whatever. It's all good.
But anyway, we did our 3 panels. We did the last time we're going to do the Gekiga panel.
Yeah, Gekiga panel, never
Gekiga.
again.
The thing is, you know how many people emailed us after the con? They were like, yeah, we missed the Gekiga panel. Will you do it at insert name of con here?
I'm like, we're never doing it again.
And
it's done. I've done
press-
it. I've done it that many times, and you've never made it to the con.
Well, the thing is, the press actually came up too, like after we did, and they talked to me while Scott was talking to other people. And they were like, yeah, so you guys ever thought about filming a definitive version of this and putting it out there so we could just kind of link to it? I feel like if we do that, we got to get Gerald involved.
Maybe we could do that. We could take any panels that are dead and are never going to be a convention again, and then put those online.
I feel like that's actually a really good idea.
I think that's okay.
that every
It's not a
panel we
bad
do
idea.
should make kind of the round through all the conventions, and then to retire it, we do the definitive word.
Yeah, because then the one version we put online will be so well practiced that it will turn out really well.
Yeah, it's kind of like how if you go see a band in concert, they play things kind of differently, but there's always the album version of the song. Like everyone knows the album version of Stairway to Heaven.
Yep.
And everyone, when they think of the song, they think of that. But then there's the cool people who saw him in concert who might remember the other version they heard.
Yep. Oh. So anime news is not so strong. That's why I got to resort to this kind of news. But it's not the worst thing in the world. All right. So apparently, you know how Lupin in many of the Lupin movies is always seen driving that little yellow car I mean, he's been seen driving some other cars too. Like once he was driving that 6-wheeled F1 car with the
Well, don't forget,
ground effects.
I think that my favorite vehicle of his is the motorcycle that he rode across that clown's face in the best Lupin movie, Babylon Gold.
Best said with a
Oh my
lot of
God!
salt.
Is that far and away the best Lupin there ever was?
Right. He also drove that car. It was just sort of like a long car, has the tire on the back. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but mostly he's known for that little yellow Fiat kind of car. And Fiat is actually going to make, and people don't know Fiat is I think an Italian car company. It's owned by Ford and Ferrari, and it's all the same company really, but it's not. But they make little cars. If you go to Europe, or people are in Europe know this, but people in Europe might not know that there are no Fiats in the U.S. We don't have those cars
Well,
here.
there are, but they're in the hands of wealthy people.
They're incredibly rare, but in Europe, a Fiat's like a small economic car for the average person. It's like a kind of car a high school kid will have, depending on which Fiat. But yeah, Fiat is just a really tiny, they make tiny, efficient, normal cars. Some of them a little cool, some of them not so cool. And Fiat is going to make that yellow Lupin car, and they're going to make like 500 of them or so. And I guess, Rim, you should try to buy one. You need a car.
I don't need a Fiat.
Why? It'd be really efficient, be small like you want, and it'll be a Lupin car.
Wait.
And you can put the Otori license plate on it for the ultimate awesome.
Now, I feel like if I'm getting the Otori license plate transferred to another car, it's gotta be a red, 98 Miata.
No, the Fiat.
I gotta get some gold rims.
The yellow Lupin Fiat. We could drive it on the wall.
See, it's weird because I feel like if I got, the Miata is the perfect Akio car in terms of, the feel, but the car in the show is more like this long, there's a gigantic back seat. It's almost like a convertible Buick.
Yeah, you could probably get a red Chrysler Sebring convertible.
No. I
but
realize what you do.
That's not good. It doesn't have the.
This is the only time where the Utena movie is actually worth something, because in the movie, that is exactly the car I can get.
I don't know. Oh, the naked one in the movie?
No, not the naked one. The naked one, that car doesn't exist. I'm talking about the Akio car.
I thought you were talking that you could get the naked car. I can get the naked car. Why can't you?
I can get the Akio car. The naked car does not exist. It's a pink, formula car.
No, I meant the naked car. Just two naked girls on a stick.
The thing is, the naked car goes through all these stages of nakedness. It goes from partially naked to fully naked to I didn't think it could get more naked.
Maybe that's the cosplay we should make, the naked car.
Wait, so we get two girls to be naked on a stick?
No, but we'd basically have this car made out of cardboard, right? And they'd be on a stick standing up, but we'd put a video of a moving street behind them. So you're sitting in the audience and you're looking at the top of the car, but it looks like you're looking at the car.
So this is a cosplay performance, not just a walk around cosplay.
What other kind of cosplay is there?
Because I realized that's not no cosplay is ever going to be good again until I see someone at Otakon
flip over the hood windshield.
Until I see someone at Otakon do what they did in Here Is Greenwood. I've never seen anyone do that at a con.
Oh, with the whole with the clock and everything.
Yeah, you see that. Why doesn't anyone do that?
They did it in Tokimeki Memorial.
Yes, but they didn't do it in America. I've never seen anyone do it. If anyone out there knows of an anime convention where anyone did the Here Is Greenwood thing, and if you don't know what that is, you're way too young.
It takes a lot of it's a lot of set construction to make that happen.
No, see, modern era, you make a giant backdrop and you just throw it down. So, things of the day. Now, we're not going to review this tonight, but we're going to review it as soon as Scott watches it again. Because
I haven't watched it since 2000.
You know, a lot of times you watch it, there's an old show that you love. And then, it's 10 years later and you decide to watch it again. You realize it's stupid or it's not quite as good as you remember.
Or it's completely different from you remember.
Well, KO Century Beast is not only exactly as good as I remember, it's better than I remember for reasons that I'll get into when we finally review it. That show is awesome.
There are a lot of shows we watched back in the days of RIT Anime.
Legend of Lenmir.
Where we got VHS tapes.
Gray Digital Target.
We got VHS tapes from the club library.
Legend of Christiania.
Christania.
Whatever. You know what? Legend of Poop.
Bastard.
Oh, bastard. That's a
right?
good show.
We brought them back to the dorm rooms. We put them in a tiny VCR with a tiny television. We watched them while we were dead tired, and I fell asleep often while they were on.
Because think of this. The RT Anime Club, right? You could check out 3 VHS tapes per week. So there were, like 10 people in the front row crew. We'd all each check out 3 tapes. And then we would watch much of that anime over the course of that weekend.
Yeah, so we saw all these crazy shows, and I remember we watched Kodomo no Ocha, whatever.
But we watched the
Kodocha.
summary movie.
Yeah, I fell asleep during the whole thing. I didn't even see the beginning or the end or the middle.
And yet we watched...
I fell asleep as it was starting before anything happened, and I woke up after the credits.
And yet we watched shows before that and after that night.
Yeah, and
but anyway,
we saw these shows, and now that we're rewatching a few of these shows, we're actually seeing what they were really like because our memories are completely wrong.
Well, actually, no. What I found is that our memories are right. For example, Legend of Lemnir, still bad. Really bad. But KO Century Beast, I'm not going to tell you my opinion of it.
So good.
My thing of the day is the second opener.
Only because you couldn't find the first opener on YouTube.
I couldn't find the first opener on YouTube, which I actually prefer. I think the song's really, really cute.
For
don't know.
some reason about this show, I only watched this show once in my life. I don't know why, but I have completely memorized both opening songs.
In Japanese. It was kind of scary. Scott and I were kind of singing along. But
to this day, I still remember.
My thing of the day is the second opener to KO Century Beast, a.k.a. Rock and Roll Bomber. Love Missile 321, let's go.
I think it's 3, 2, 1, 0.
Oh, yeah, 0. Yeah. Well, and Hono, Rock and Roll
I think
Bomber.
isn't it Yotsuwa Hono? I don't remember.
It's Yotsuwa Hono, Rock and Roll Bomber. Oh my God, is this opener great? And the show, and also, I forgot, the show's actually a robot show.
Yeah, partially.
No, almost entire. It's like 80% robot show.
There's a lot of robot going on.
It's basically a
it's not
robot
Messenger
show.
Z, but it's got robots.
It is a robot show. Do not be fooled.
All right, seeing as Rim had to dig way back for a thing of the day, which is an opener to an old anime.
However, an anime that does not get enough love, and as a result, I feel like many of you have not seen this.
Yeah, I also had to go back and dig for a thing of the day because the internet is devoid. I mean, I went looking for
dig. Wait a minute, as in dig Ron Paul?
No. As in, digging with a shovel.
Oh.
I mean, I was going to go get some Hatsune Miku or something, but I couldn't find one that interested me, so...
Well, you've already seen... I mean, the best one is still the one that did that closer to the one Sergeant Frog season.
Right, exactly.
That's like the best Hatsune Miku
So
out
unless
there.
the Hatsune Miku comes along that's better than that, I'm going to leave her alone for a while, even though she's still awesome.
Well, if one does, it's probably going to cause Macross to happen.
Yeah. But I just decided, you know what? I don't know if I've done this for a thing of the day before. I'm pretty sure I haven't because I searched the website and I didn't find it. This is the greatest anime music video to ever exist. It is the Mambo Leo. If you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you?
One more thing. I don't know if anyone out there realizes. People who aren't, in with the front row crew.
The Mambo Leo has a history.
The Mambo Leo is like the official music video of the front row crew.
Well, why would we pick one that wasn't the best?
Well, there's more to it. I mean, the fact that it survived to this day, that there's a video of us doing the dance, even though I think between all of us, we knew the whole dance. But no one of us knew all of the dance.
I know it all.
But that video did not show you doing it all.
But
it descended into chaos.
Right.
Suffice to say, there's a video, there's the song, there is the Spanish version of the song, there is the dance that Luke created that we all learned.
And slightly modified.
There's a history.
Yeah. Basically, we saw this music video. It was amazing. The song was amazing. We made up a dance to do to the song. Then we would play the music video and do the dance multiple times. Most recently, we whipped it out at a wedding.
But, I mean, this goes back to RIT Anime Club, like, music nights. The Mambo Leo would play, and suddenly, like, the whole front of the room is filled with the E-board and the front row crew dancing.
Yep.
We did it at conventions. I danced it at the my final moment of glory at the RIT Anime Club before I stepped down.
We could do it as a cosplay at an anime convention and probably win. The only problem is I don't
think it would win.
I am not doing a perfect blue cosplay.
If the entire front row crew did the perfect blue cosplay, I think we could win.
I'll be the director. I'll do a Satoshi Kon cosplay.
The only rule
I'll get a Nikon camera and a scary beard.
The best way to do it is you have a simple rule. No one is allowed to shave for a month before Otakon.
No.
Legs, faces, anything.
No. All right, so check this out. At the New York Anime Festival, right, and also at Otakon, we did this panel, Comics for the Manga Fan, right? And basically the idea of this panel was we would try to get people who are just mainly manga fans, the kind of people at an anime convention, to enjoy all comics, not just comics that are from Japan. And we would do this by giving them many examples of awesome comics they should go out and read that are not manga.
In fact, we also talk a lot about manga that are good to read that a lot of manga fans haven't read.
Yep. And, on our way to the, New York Anime Festival, Emily mentioned, that...
We were in the subway car, and I was like, so you gonna address any of the stuff for shoujo fans? Because there's probably a lot of girls here who mainly read shoujo, and, think of some romance comics or something. And Scott was like, the romance comics from the 60s? And I was like, oh, God, no, Argle Bargle. It was something like, My Faith in Frankie or any of the other ones like that.
All right. So, we already sort of had that on our minds, like, maybe, have to think about it, right? Because...
I mean, my answer was, well, if they're really into that specific kind of thing, manga's kind of where it's at right now.
That is sort of true.
There's not many Bishonen in... There's not much American-made yaoi.
There's no, Bishonen... Well, I'm sure there's Bishonen Superman yaoi, but it's not made over here.
Right, so actually, after the panel, when I got home, there was an email waiting for me. Email. So I was going to do this as a geek back, but we decided to turn it into a whole show.
I got to point out, what Scott did is he got this email, and I could see that he was going to respond to it. And then he had to check himself, be like, no, I'll respond publicly.
In the show.
That's right, because as soon as I saw this email, I'm like, oh, this has to be a show. There's too much to say for it, to be wasted on a forum post or a private email.
And I finagled my way onto the show because RIM canceled their panel on Sunday, and I was mad, and I was like, for punishment, you have to have me on the show on Wednesday so I can talk.
I was like, oh, if I turn this into a show, I'm gonna need Emily.
Yeah.
So
for my opinion, I should be like Clarissa and be like, Emily, the girl.
Well, if we were any other lame geek podcast, we'd have made the joke that yes, so we got an expert on the subject of being a girl.
No.
But the funny thing is, at work, they were going to actually interview me about how does being a girl affect your perspective on art? And I was just like, well, how does your perspective of being a guy affect your marketing?
Man, if I were you, I would
like,
have said that everything cylindrical is an oppressive phallic reference.
Yeah, or something like that. Just
but
get
that's
really
true no matter what you are.
Damn the patriarchy.
Right?
So anyway, we got this email about this particular topic, and I wanted to reply to the email in a show. I wanted Emily to be there, and I want Emily bothered RIM about being on the show, and the listeners bothered us about Emily being on the show.
Yeah,
so
thank you guys.
We have
even
planets.
Though I suck.
We have planets aligning here.
I
so.
think we've actually gotten more feedback saying get Emily on the show more than we have about any other single topic.
So,
I know,
yeah.
it makes me blush.
With planets such, in this configuration, how could we not do this show? And, it's got to be a good show. Anyway, so I'm going to read this email, and then I want to respond sort of directly to the accusation of the email and, sort of defend ourselves. And then we can talk more generally about the topic at hand, all right? So this is the email from someone named Satellite, all right? Hi, I attended your panel, Comics for the Manga Fan, yesterday at the New York Anime Festival. One comment about the suggestions you put forward during this presentation. I think they were pretty much all male-oriented. Sorry, but most girls are not going to go for Watchmen, parentheses, just look at the name, parentheses, Frank Miller, or Atomic Robo. You should investigate what there is of non-manga with more of an emphasis on females. I am not a shill for this comic, but one title that comes to mind is Skeleton Key by Andy Watson, a Brit. A manga-influenced comic from the 90s published by Slave Labor Graphics. The comic is widely available at Amazon and others. Amazon link to the comic. To me, something like this would much more fall under the category Comics for the Manga Fan. The presentation you guys did, I would have titled Some Western Comics That Don't Suck, but I did enjoy your presentation of the Western comics that don't suck.
Here's one thing I kind of want to say is that when people hear the term Western comics for the manga reader, they think of, more of the Tokyo Pop English language stuff. Whereas what we decided to do and what we think of when we think of comics that would appeal to a manga reader is we don't just look at style. We look more at, content. And I think the thing that drew at least all my friends to manga and anime in the first place is that it had deeper themes and it had really developed characters. So it's less about the art style and more about these darker issues and complex characters.
Yep.
I don't even want to beat around the bush. I feel like the accusation itself doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
How is Watchmen aimed, like, how is that a male comic?
I know.
Exactly.
It's obviously someone who hasn't read Watchmen.
Well, look at the title, Watchmen. I guess you would read.
But it's not Watch Women. I know. I want to list the comics we talked about just real quick, all right? Watchmen, V for Vendetta, The Surrogates, Scott Pilgrim, Black Sad Bone, Dark Knight Returns, The Spirit, Runaways, Ex Machina, Why the Last Man, Fables, Atomic Robo, Walking Dead, all the works of Jason Mouseguard, and The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. Those are the comics we mentioned.
I believe you mean McDuck.
McDuck. All right. So, Scrooge.
Scrooge.
All right. So, I guess you could sort of, it's not hard to say. I guess something like Atomic Robo is a little bit sort of classically male,
It's got the mecha
action figure-y sort of stuff,
and
right?
one thing about Frank Miller is, I gotta say, from the Frank Miller
Pause.
stuff I've read, he does tend to have kind of dumb portrayals of female characters. Not so
two
much
kinds
in the
of women.
Batman.
He has either
He has the hoa.
Yep, he has the
hoa.
dumb weak woman, or the strong-willed hooker with the heart of gold.
That's it.
or the
Heart of
strong-willed
Gold.
evil hooker.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Frank Miller for you. But one thing, it was funny because I was reading Scrooge McDuck, and that was the comic that everybody was like, what the fuck? Why is Disney at a manga panel? If you actually read these comics, people talk about shoujo and stuff being about relationships. I mean, Scrooge McDuck has a lot of comedy, and it has a lot of, adventure and daring.
But it also has
stuff.
Goldie.
But it has Goldie, and there is this one story, and I was reading this last night, where he's a minor, and maybe I'll save the description for when you guys
I think
actually
you should,
do the
because
show.
as I point out,
But this is actually a really good relationship story. Like, it's a cute love story.
Yep.
plus I feel like does it have to be a relationship comic in order to count as a girl? I mean, I guess what bothers me is that I remember when I was a kid, young, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, all the guys would play with G.I. Joe things, army stuff, and all the girls would play with Barbies. But all the girls would also play with G.I. Joe stuff. But the guys couldn't play with Barbies.
Yeah. See, I feel sort of like what we're being accused of here, right? Is like you go to the toy store, right? And you've got the sort of Barbie aisle where everything's pink, right? You've got the aisle with all the action figures, Ninja Turtles and He-Man and Transformers, right? And that's sort of a guy aisle,
But what if She-Ra's
But
in there?
then-
And also, all the girls I knew totally played with He-Man.
Right, that's true. But then all the other aisles, like you've got the board game aisle, the Lego aisle, right?
Well, the board game aisle was clearly aimed at men.
Yeah, the video game aisle.
Clearly aimed at men.
The aisle with just the blocks.
Clearly
and
aimed
the
at men.
dice and the jacks and those sorts of things, right? And those are sort of like the everyone aisles. And it's sort of like I feel that if we mention either, action figure-y things or Barbie things, then that is what's sexist. Basically, everything we've mentioned here is a blocks aisle, board game aisle kind of thing. It's not for guys or for girls. It's for everyone. Mouse Guard is for everyone. Scrooge McDuck is for everyone. Jason's for everyone. Zombies are for everyone. Fables is for
Zombies are
everyone,
for everyone.
right?
Scott Pilgrim has
Runaways.
a higher...
Scott Pilgrim,
Scott
oh my
Pilgrim has a higher
god.
girl demographic than a guy demographic.
Runaways,
Totally,
The
man.
Spirit, Bone, Black Sad, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, those are all for everyone, regardless of gender. So
Yeah.
it's basically she's saying you didn't mention anything from the Barbie aisle. And in a way, that's more sexist to mention things from the Barbie aisle, and I think that's partially because the sexism of Japan has sort of come over with their manga in a way. I mean, in the US, we have genres like science fiction. We don't have genres like young boys and young girls.
On the other hand, doesn't this relate back to, remember when you had that big row with Clarissa over Tutera?
Is it shoujo?
Is it shoujo or shonen?
Well,
It's hard sci-fi, so what's the deal here? But it's the same sort of thing. It's basically shoujo and shonen has become kind of just a term to mark what kind of magazine it was published in and whether more girls or more boys buy it. I mean, there's a huge female readership for Shonen Jump, and most of the anime fans I knew who are girls were mostly fans of the sports anime and the Shonen Jump titles. So
Yeah, actually, I run into more girls who are fans of like iShield 21 than guys ever.
you know what I'd relate it to? I like the analogy of the Barbie aisle, but I always thought it was kind of like the people who only thought of shoujo or who were very strict in their definitions of the boys comics versus girls comics. It's kind of like those Oxygen television networks. They have these television networks that are supposedly for women,
Oh my
and
God,
these television networks for men, like Spark TV, we're hardcore. Well, actually, the programming is really kind of lame,
Well,
especially on the women's
What
network.
really bothers me is I feel like whenever something is made like this is for guys, it's usually something that has universal appeal. But if it's something that's for girls, it's often something really lame.
Yeah,
But it's like the Man Show. Do you remember the Man Show?
the Man Show. I like the Man Show before they changed the people on it.
My mom liked the Man Show a lot more than I did.
I've only saw it once. It
It's
had
actually
like
really
girls
fun.
bouncing around on trampolines, like wee.
But it was definitely tongue in cheek. There was
Yeah.
definitely that little bit of a lilt there.
That's the thing. It's like I see all these posters in the subway for the Oxygen Network, and it's always like bulging. You remember bulging brides?
Oh
right?
my God,
It was
that was
just
like the
about
scariest.
we are fat women who need to lose weight before our wedding, and it was just like wrong on so many levels. It was so bad.
But then there's the
All sorts
a
of stuff
dingo
like
age old baby network where it's just nothing but I'm a wife and my husband either murdered or stole my kids
Oh,
and
it's
I have to get them
ridiculous.
back.
But-
I don't watch TV hardly ever, but like if I'm at my parents' house, like sometimes like the Spike TV will have like a James Bond marathon, and then everyone will watch.
They had
But-
Star Wars on there a while ago.
Yeah, Star Wars, but that's
Wait,
like for everybody. But the
is Star
women, like
Wars-
the Lifetime channel, will never have anything anyone in my house wants to watch ever.
Well, you really,
Well, actually, there was when I was a kid, I would watch like the supermarket game show on there.
I used to watch that too because
It's a good one.
I was really good at it.
Yeah, it's like freaking go for the hams. What's wrong with you?
You know why? Because the only people, I guess, in a traditional household, everyone, who goes to the grocery store? The wife and the kids. So we
Yeah.
would have known, and the wife would have known, but the husband's out like wrestling crocodiles.
I think the thing is that
crocodile.
labeling a comic for girls or for guys is more sexist than saying just
But then
here's a
again,
freaking comic, read it.
I mean,
it's
like
good.
Emily said, in Japan, how many girls just read the comics that are labeled for guys? How many guys read the comics labeled for girls? I think
Yeah.
the real issue is that in America, especially, we have this thing where it seems like popular culture, maybe outside of geekdom, but like normal, like the average person, if you ask them if sci-fi, like what is sci-fi aimed at, they'll probably say it's aimed at guys. I get this impression that a lot of people think that like science fiction or anything geeky or anything nerdy is a guy thing. And it seems like they lump.
fantasy. I feel fantasy is actually. I've always had the impression that there are both like nerdy guys and lots and lots and lots of fantasy girls.
Yeah, but I feel like they're two different camps. Like fantasy for guys is like the woman
Chainmail
straddling
bikini.
Bikini straddling a snake.
That stuff is so painful.
I hate
yeah.
that. Like it bristles.
Well, see, that's the separate thing that has sort of plagued, I guess, Japanese and American comics is just the high quantity of cheesecake all
lots
around.
of cheesecake.
Is just, I think that sort of makes it hard for, girls in comics in general. And I think that's sort of why there needs to be like this almost shoujo kind of, labeling this is for girls so that you don't, because everything else is horrible cheesecake. And it's sort of scary. Like you go into like a comic forum and it's like, if people like actually have, a discussion, people be like, yeah, this is sexist and it's, crap and whatever. But then it's scary how many people that are like, I like my cheesecake, leave it alone. Or they'll be like, they'll be like every day they'll like put up 3 random comic covers. It's like vote for which one's the best, and I'll be like, oh, number 2 is the best, and someone will be like, I'd vote for number 2, but number 1 has big cleavage, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, well, it must sell because they've got like these $300 figurines in the comic book store of like.
Are they busts?
Busts with really big busts. Very very well endowed. But I guess I think of comics. I always associate comics to movies. Because they're basically a cross between literature, like a prose novel, and a movie. Some of my favorite comics almost read like reading a storyboard, where they're very cinematic, very, the shots have the same sort of pacing as an animated film. But I guess it's kind of like you take the list of 100 greatest films ever made, and you look at that and say, okay, how many of these are so-called chick flicks, or how many of these are so-called gross-out comedies?
But according to the person who emailed us, as far as I would imagine that she would rate most of them as intended for a male audience.
Exactly.
Yeah, like what? The top 2 are like, what, The Godfather, right? And she's going to say that's a guy movie. It's a mafia movie. It's for guys, right?
Yeah.
I can go to the IMDb list and see more, but,
Well, I'll admit, I had actually never heard of the comic she suggested.
Yeah, me either.
Well, I've actually looked at Skeleton Key, and I don't know. It's one of those manga that doesn't really strike my fancy.
All right, so here's the top of IMDb right now, right? We got Shawshank Redemption and Godfather tied, Dark Knight, Godfather Part 2, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, Pulp Fiction, Schindler's List,
Wow, those
Cuckoo's Nest.
But that's the
Empire
IMDb
Strikes
one.
Back. I know,
That's
but it's
like
But those are
that's
all-
like democracy. You need to do the one that's all
Well, I point out
by the
is it,
Oscar committee
IMDb's
and
not too
everything.
far off.
The
though,
thing is, the
usually.
IMDb is-
some stuff is far off.
The
Like
top
Dark
of the-
Knight doesn't belong.
the
there.
Yeah,
top of
right?
the list is always half movies that deserve it and half movies that came out recently. But the ones that come out like Dark Knight is going to fall off that list within a year to like halfway down.
Yeah.
And we
Oh
don't have to
man,
worry
City of
about it.
Gods at 18, hot.
Oh
All right.
man, but
Yeah,
obviously
that's a good movie. City
intended
of
for
God.
guys.
But like in terms of comics that would play well to a female audience, I mean, what exactly do these people who say, I want a shoujo novel, what are they looking for? Are they looking for a story with a lot of relationships? Are they looking
Scott
for
Pilgrim.
Are they looking for pretty boys? Are they looking for, hearts and sparkles
I
and
feel
flowers?
like-
I'm not sure what it is. I suppose it varies from person to person, but I'm not sure what it is that they want in their comics. That
I know what they
shoujo
want. I have a
what?
feeling that these people, like her, and I'm using the person who wrote to us as kind of an example of all of them. But I feel like if they go to a panel like this, they're expecting to see us showing them. So you like super shoujo-y manga? Here is the exact equivalent from other countries.
Yeah, that's not the goal of our panel. It's, I even said that. It's like our goal is not to just show you, hey, look, here's something that's exactly the same as, I don't know, what's
You can't come up
Naruto.
no,
What's
I
the
have
Ameri-
one in my mind.
Oh,
What's
sorry.
the
I can't read your mind, Scott.
no, the one with the 4 guys and the one
That
the,
doesn't narrow it down.
No,
at
it's
all.
like
Yes.
they're like the 4.
Hanayori Dango.
Yes, that one.
Oh my God, I can't
Hanayori
believe
Dango's
you
freaking
thought
awesome.
of that.
It is fucking awesome, but it's like, do you want me to just show you what the French Haniori Dango is? What's the point of that? It's if they're the same thing, they're the same
Yeah,
thing.
why not
the
just
point is
read
to
the
show you
Japanese one?
different things that are not like manga because. It's not, you like manga already. Here are non-manga that are the same. It's you like manga. You're a comics fan. Why are you ignoring comics from every other country? These are good comics from other countries that you will like also if you would just read them and stop only reading things that are from Japan.
I didn't
Like
feel
I-
bad though because I can't. Black Sad. Everyone seemed really interested in Black Sad, and that's the one you can't get.
Oh my God, that's a good comic though. People might be put off because it's anthro, and that would be such a shame because I hate when people look at the anthropomorphic comics and go, ooh.
Well, I think that's a good
furries."
way to push at an anime con where
know?
there's more likeliness of acceptance of the anthro than in
Yeah.
the. Actually, I've noticed a lot of French comics tend to go for this anthro. I've been looking at a few more. and
But
it's-
seriously, I tell everybody there's this stigma against drawing anything anthro now. It's been a staple of animation. I mean, funny animals have been around
KO
since
Century Beast.
Mickey Mouse, man.
And you know what? Maymare,
Bugs Bunny.
pretty attractive.
Okay.
But I mean, like, look,
she's
like
cute.
I just listened to an interview with the guy who translated Dungeon into English. He did a show on Dungeon, way back.
Oh, Anthro.
I love Dungeon.
Yeah, Dungeon is anthro, right? And actually, from that show, I learned about this other French comic called Ordinary Victories. That's from the.
I've heard of that. I've heard someone
it's about the
mention that.
Algerian War and something.
A lot
and
of
it's-
historical comics in France.
Yeah, a lot
it
of
seems.
historical action.
As
So-
we were told by an ambassador, a cultural ambassador, who happened to be set up at the New York Comic Con last year, who basically he had this booth all by himself, and and he had like an assistant, and no one was looking at the stuff. There was just all these French comics, and they were basically saying, "Look, France has awesome comics. Seriously,"
It's
and
kind
he
of
was right.
cool because I really like French comics and animation because I feel like they combine the serious nature of Japanese comics with a lot of the emphasis on figure drawing and fine arts that you sometimes find in American animation.
I mean, I spent a
And,
good half hour just flipping through these
It's
books.
it's called, like in France, people call it the ninth art, and they view comics more as a fine art instead of like in
Wait,
America.
the ninth art.
what
So
are the
what are
other-
the other 8 arts?
I don't know, like music,
Oh,
and
like
dance
painting,
and-
sculpture.
I don't know.
I'm curious.
Movies.
maybe
books,
I misquoted, but it's like
Statuary.
video
look
games.
at
I said sculpture
the
already.
muses. The muses. I think it's based on the muses. So
Oh,
like
okay.
they have Calliope and all that, but
I
there
think the
must be a
ninth art should
ninth.
be,
So
ninth
what's
muse
so
for
what
comics.
muse goes with comics?
It's a made up muse. It's
Stan Lee
Comica.
No,
No,
I
not
don't want
Stan
to go Stan
Lee. She talks in bolded text instead of in iambic.
Pentameter.
I was thinking,
Pentameter.
Stampy, I choose you.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
speak in
god.
iambic centameter.
But anyway, what I was gonna say is
Iambic centameter is stupid.
I know.
Actually, it's not that bad.
yeah. As I was saying, the
Assyrians came down like the wolf on the fold. Their cohorts were gleaming in purple.
That's
and
enough
gold.
of that.
I'm gonna kick you. But when I talked about the comics we discussed in the beginning of the show, I said, we focused a lot more on the less superficial aspects of it, like the art. Nothing like your stereotypical manga art. Your characters, it doesn't really fit any of the things you'd see in the Big Eye Small Mouth role-playing guide as like sample characters.
Yeah.
There's no magical girl.
I
There's
wonder
no,
if even if we'd shown like a super romantic
Scott Pilgrim
comic-
has a magical girl. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, yes, it does. Oh man, I love that comic so much. It's
Oh my
ridiculous.
god.
I want to make a Scott Pilgrim dating game.
And Runaways has a bunch of magical girls also.
That's true.
Yeah, we talked about
That's
Runaways,
true.
too.
I forgot about that.
Scrooge McDuck has an evil magical girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not exactly a girl. She's more like a hag.
That's what a hag is female.
The thing, she's not. She's more
not a-
like I guess watching DuckTales. Like I remember as a kid, I hated her. She was evil and horrible. But reading the comic, it's more like I kind of like her.
You feel kind of bad because
'Cause
she's
no,
always desperate.
Her foof
and
bombs,
always
and that she calls
thwarted.
them poof bombs, and she throws them
Eat
all the time
poof
at everyone. She's like,
bombs.
"Eat poof bombs, poofy, bam, poof, poof, poof."
It's pretty funny. But I don't know. I feel like what I like in my comics is I like good art, right? But I'm not picky about it has to be a certain kind of art. It doesn't have to have big eyes. It doesn't have to have small noses, that kind of
Well,
thing.
it could be XKCD.
But it's one thing I'm very, very set on is that it's got to have depth. Either that or it's got to be hella funny. It can be total space ghost.
I
and
just
I'll
feel like
watch
what we
it,
talk,
but,
like all the comics we talked about are like important, like all ages, all appeal, amazing comics.
I'm not all ages.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
I wouldn't give my 6-year-old the Dark Knight.
I totally remember. I watched Vampire Hunter D in the early days of 4th grade.
Yeah, well, your
I
mom
wouldn't give
gave
The
you
Walking
Stephen
Dead.
King stuff.
I wouldn't give The Walking Dead to someone who wasn't in like at least middle school.
One of
Yeah,
the
it
first-
would it would freak kids
one of the
out.
first real books I ever read was Stephen King's Skeleton Crew, followed shortly thereafter by Tales of Horror and the Macabre, a collection of Lovecraft stories.
It's all right. Dark Knight Returns, you got to be at least middle or high school or something.
Yeah.
Runaways, you should be in middle or high school, probably.
Otherwise, I feel you won't really understand it.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
really
like,
what it
that's
is.
We're not so much talking
not
about
Ichi
the
the
gore
Killer
or
here.
anything. It's more like to really relate to this kind of story, you've got to be above a certain age or a certain maturity level.
Yeah, even reading Scrooge McDuck in elementary school, it'd be okay, but you wouldn't really fully get the deal unless you were
Actually,
older.
But then again, that's a good.
but-
I like having that multi-layered thing where a kid can watch it and enjoy it on one level. You're older, you have more experience, you watch it, you enjoy it on this wholly different level.
That's exactly how I was with McDuck because I collected those comics as a kid, and then when Scott got the digest, I was just reading it the other day, and it's like it all comes back to me, but I pick up on so many more jokes. And
What were you
so
doing
many
reading
more-
Scrooge McDuck? That's a guy's comic.
Why?
That's
Oh yeah, that's
that.
right. He's all rough and tumble and mining in Alaska.
Who was it who sent the
and
email
stuff.
to us? Because we've totally been ripping on you
Yeah,
for a
I'm
while.
sorry.
Someone named Satellite. Their email was kind of okay. The reply I sent to them was basically, we were aware that, before we did the thing, that we weren't really doing any sort of, stuff that was shoujo-y in any sort of way. But, now that I think about it, afterwards, it's like, hey, I look at this list of comics we talked about, and you know what? I think actually more of these are, appealing to both genders. And, the fact that she said, really, Watchmen, just look at the name, definitely shows that she hasn't read it and doesn't know
That-
what she's really talking
that
Watchmen
made
is
me
like the
so
Citizen Kane
bad.
of comics. It's so
Or
amazing.
So sad.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I've read Watchmen like 4 times.
I don't know. It's.
I'm going to read it again as soon as the hardcover edition shows up. Actually, they just solicited the international edition of it, and I'm like,
Well, I just lent it actually because one of my coworkers never really read comics. He's he does doctoral stuff and he's really into, I guess, literature.
if he's a doctor, he'll understand it.
Well, the thing is, it's funny
He's
because
mighty.
he gave a lecture and he was going through this whole thing about Guy Fawkes and remember the 5th of November.
You never read V for Vendetta, did you?
No, and he didn't even know there was a movie. So when everyone
Didn't even know there was a movie?
No, he just didn't pay attention. So all the kids in his class were like, "Yeah, Guy Fawkes, yeah," and they all knew about it. And he was like, "How do you?" And they're like, "There was a movie," and he didn't see the movie, but then he mentioned it to me, and I was like, "Yeah, there's a comic too. It's one of the greatest comics ever written." And then he's like, what's the best comic ever written? So the next day, I gave him our copy of Watchmen, and he read it, and he gave it back to me, and he said, "That was interesting."
Interesting.
You
That
should give him
tends to
some
be
Will
a
Eisners.
Well, I'm gonna give him V for Vendetta because he specifically wanted it. And then I was gonna lend him your Dark Knight Returns, but it looks like someone else borrowed it. I can't find
Oh,
it.
is it? I got to add it to my borrowed list.
Gojo.
I can't find it anywhere.
Actually, I lent my grandma, this Will Eisner hardcover, which is sort of like the best place to start with Will Eisner, and she lost it or something. I got to go buy it again.
She
Oh,
probably
that's
lent it
too
to one of
bad.
her friends.
I don't know where it is, but
It's
I
going
gotta,
through the reading circle of old grandmas.
Yeah, I got to go get it. So.
Is it one of his more slice of life
Well,
kind of
all
things?
his stuff is
historical?
slice of life.
Yeah.
But I thought slice of life was a bad word.
No,
Well,
it's not a bad word.
no.
It's like realistic. It's
gritty.
It's human stories.
his
it's
stories
human
in the
interests.
tenements and
I
stuff
guess what
like
I've
that.
seen, because Anime World Order go on and on about, it's a slice of life anime. That
Well,
means
there's
it's
differences
bad.
between, the slice of life anime, at least the ones they're talking about, and there are a bunch of them, tend to be, watch someone's, just everyday happenings. Someone goes to school, la 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 la. There's a cat along the way to school, la la la.
Well,
la,
my
la.
10th, it comes out because my 10th grade English teacher, literature, he was like the best literature teacher ever. And he was the one who gave me The Lively Art of Writing, which is like my Bible when it comes to writing. But I remember he went on and on about this exact thing and how, I think he said slice of life is more often than not a code word for no plot, couldn't think of one, wrote the story
Yep.
anyway.
But human interest, is sort of, it sort of feels okay to call it slice of life because it is a slice of life.
if a
It's like,
story
this is
doesn't
what life is like, and here's a piece of it.
All stories are human interest or no one would read them.
Right, no, but when someone says human interest story, especially the Will Eisner stories, and also the Yoshihiro Tatsumi stories, it's like, look, here is, something that is, true humanity,
real people, real
a
drama,
real
sort
person
of
in a
thing.
real horrible situation, like a homeless guy who had his cardboard blocks blown away or something. Even worse than that. That's like a wussy example because I can't come up with ones like they do, but and that's what the spirit and all of Eisner's stuff is all about, and Tatsumi also is look, here is a horrible real human circumstance, and it shows you something about human nature in stark contrast. It's rough. It's not just someone living their everyday life, watch them as they go, the end at some random point.
Well, I feel like, we're back on the subject of what is a girl comic, what is a guy comic. It feels like you're talking about things people can relate to. Seems like all great media, books, music, etc., is that's remembered throughout the ages, tends to be things that both genders can relate to some extent.
Most definitely. I feel like a lot of people, and not just this person, will always lump a lot of things that actually have mass appeal and say that they have male appeal.
Well, there's always my feminist argument that since we live in a patriarchal society, everything is male
Damn
appeal.
the patriarchy.
Damn the patriarchy.
And its cylindrical objects.
No.
Oh no, cylinders.
I think, I did not come up with this. Someone else said this, but I think it rings very true. The reason there is so much male phallic imagery in the world is that vaginas are complicated and hard to make.
Yeah, I mean, there's some Carcassonne tiles that look like them, but that's about it.
That's right. No, I thought
there's
that
also
was the
inverse witch
clitoris.
heads.
Yeah.
Inverse
Witches are
wizard
females.
hat. Wizard hat.
With
Robe and wizard head?
Put on my robe and wizard hat.
All right, I think we've rebutted that thoroughly. And it's kind of late. I think we'll end
Go to
here.
bed.
But boys and girls, do you want more Emily in the show?
What? Do you even have to ask that question?
One more thing I want to say. In case you're listening, girl who wrote the email, I'm sorry we picked on you so much.
No, we're not.
Oh,
Emily
okay.
is.
But
I don't know. I didn't feel like we were picking on you. I was mostly just, it's sort of like I agreed in a way in that we didn't really mention any comics that are girl specific.
Yeah,
like
it's
we
more
didn't.
like you brought up a point, and we're like, yes, you're right.
It's like we
but
didn't mention any toys from the Barbie aisle, but I feel most of the things we mentioned, the vast majority, you could sort of argue maybe Dark Knight Returns or something if you really wanted to, right?
But that's the least Miller-tastic of his
exactly.
works.
Pretty much everything we mentioned is a something that appeals to everyone regardless of gender, and I don't think we really picked any things that were this is for guys and girls won't like it.
We did, but we did a separate panel on that shortly
but
after.
I want to make
There are
a
girls who
few
like the Gekiga.
recommendations about comics that I like that have a female perspective. I really like Queen and Country and
Queen and Country's
and
awesome.
Whiteout. What's that author's name?
Greg Rucka?
Greg Rucka. He writes awesome female characters.
Yes, Whiteout. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, they're not
He also
stereotyped.
wrote,
they're just badass.
He also wrote Gotham Central, which is
also
focuses.
has a policewoman, right?
Yeah, it's mostly about it's basically about all the two different shifts of police officers, the night shift and the day shift in Gotham City, with a tiny bit of Batman, barely any Batman, but the Renee Montoya is like the one of the more focused on characters that there's a whole bunch of this female and male policewomen. It's like the real police people, it's mixed up properly and such. But then I think after that series is over now, but I think Renee Montoya went on to be like a superhero of some kind or some shit. I don't know.
Well, I have my own recommendation. There's the classic I was kidnapped by lesbian pirates from outer space.
Oh yeah,
that comic rules.
Actually,
I should have ordered this. I don't know if I ordered the second one or not.
Before anyone thinks Scott's joking, no, that comic does rule. It's really awesome.
I thought it was hilarious.
It's like this pop art, and it's just awesome.
Well, it's like set in the 1950s, and it's like a total takeoff of like 1950s sci-fi schlocky comics.
A salacious tale of
they're
seduction
all
and
named
lust.
like Velma. What are some of the other
Marge,
names?
Alice,
Marge,
Wendy.
yeah. It's so funny. I love it. But yeah, stuff like that. And of course, Scott said that the Mix line was canceled, but what I've read of those, they're decent. They're kind of like American shoujo.
I like them.
New York 4, it's okay.
It was okay.
All right. Some of the girls are kind of they don't show a lot of self-control, but you're like, oh well, you're college kids.
I also
what you
saw
gonna do?
the so-called plot twist coming about 20 pages.
Oh
in
yeah, I
advance.
was like,
It was
oh
so
my god,
obvious.
you're so stupid. Come on.
They were really stupid. And then
Oh my god!
sort of the
but,
way
but
they
it
handled
shows
it.
New York really well. If you want to read a New York,
It's sort of the
comic.
way they handled it once it happened was sort of bleh. It's like, oh, what are you being all like 3-year-olds about this? You could handle this like adults.
Yeah,
All
just
right.
tell him off. Be like, what the fuck is your problem? Okay,
Yeah.
that's kind of a spoiler, but anyway.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that much of a spoiler. We've spoiled worse for less.
Okay. And Emiko Superstar and stuff like that. But that line's canceled. Bye bye.
Emiko Superstar was also really good.
Okay.
But then again, I feel like anyone who thought that we focused on male-oriented comics would have read Emiko Superstar and not thought it was their girly comic.
Oh well.
Maybe. Who knows?
They want boys kissing other boys, and maybe that will come someday to American comics. But right now,
there's
it's
boys
a bit-
kissing boys, and you can get quite a few of those at the Mocha.
Yeah,
At
yes,
the
you
Mocha.
can.
Yeah.
Not that I would know.
Yeah. Right.
For some reason, my brain started making this elaborate scene between Superman and Batman where
No,
Superman
no,
really
no.
wants Batman to kiss him, but Batman knows this and thus won't. And
You gonna start
this-
making some Marvel DC dojins?
Yeah, it's
the
like
thing is, I'll
Grim's
bet-
writing a fan fiction in his head. Oh boy.
I'll bet that it's already out there.
Oh.
Well, there was that Batman dojin with
Where Superman killed Alfred.
No, it was like wasn't it like
What?
Batman and Kiki's Livery Service? It was Batman and
What?
something.
What?
Or was it It was Batman and something. I forget
the
what it
weirdest
I
was.
don't
freaking
think it was Kiki's
crossover
Delivery
I've
Service.
ever
I think I
heard.
would have known about that.
It's
Oh my
Batman and
gosh.
something. Hold on.
And Robin,
Hold on.
come on.
Searching.
I forget what it was.
But you
Wait,
know,
what are you going to search for? Batman and? I don't think that's going to bring it up. I think you failed.
No, hold on. I got
Batman
it.
was kidnapped by
Just keep talking
lesbians
for a
from outer
second.
space.
He's got to find it now.
Scott, and I refuse to pause because I'm doing this complicated 2-track sync thing here.
All right.
Well, Scott,
I think I might have failed.
I think you failed. I think you failed as
Epic
much as I failed on Sunday at the
fail.
New York Anime Festival.
Yes, that was also epic fail, and Emily was very displeased.
Yes,
she didn't
however,
get to do karaoke.
We'll do karaoke. We got to get
We'll
some.
do karaoke.
We got to get
or
Yuko, Nath, and
die.
Conrad to come up from DC to do some karaoke.
I want my friends from Queens come up and do karaoke.
All right, I think this show
This is over. Over.
It's done.
There was a dojin of
Scott,
Batman and
You just
Scott.
give up. You can tell them next show.
You can link to it in the forum.
Okay.
By the way, people, I'm glad you're all joining the forum. People who we told you to join the forum, the rest of you should, because all the people we meet at cons always say they're not in the forum. But at the same time, if you join the forum and you can't spell or you don't capitalize words,
Well,
you're gonna get banned like
No,
right away.
Not just banned. You will be punished by everyone else there.
Yes, I
You'll
feel
be
like-
mercilessly picked on.
Because Mr.
And we're
Period-
not doing this to like scare you away, right? We want you to come in. It's just we want this is supposed to be something that you shouldn't be scared away like, oh no, people are going to pick on me for a bad grammar. You should be saying, hooray, I want to go to these forums where people are picked on for bad grammar, because I know that unlike other forums like 4chan where it's just like, oh my god, dick girls, it's going to be actually all the posts are forced to be intelligent and well thought out and have effort put into them, so it's not
doubt me-
it's a less scary forum unless you can't write.
Seriously?
And if you can't write,
I had a problem with
Don't.
Steam. Like, I came home and, I had this weird problem with Steam, and I couldn't connect any games, and I wanted to play some NS. So I searched for, the error to see what I found. And all the links were to forums all over the internet. And, I don't think I saw a single conversation. I don't think I saw a single capital letter. And I'm talking on the official Steam forums or the official forums of some other to not be named podcast. Good God.
It's
Good
so
God.
funny though, because we call it the Ivory Tower and everything, but it's
Yeah, extra life if
seriously,
you got cards.
the people who join there, they actually enforce the rules themselves.
Yeah, I feel like I
like,
got to appoint some more moderators.
it's
Mr. Period really
funny.
he
Yeah,
can't
he
he hasn't been
hasn't been
around for a
around.
while.
yeah, I sort of
not doing his
don't. I
job.
sort of, on the one hand, like that everyone is pushing, the spelling, but I sort of don't like that, some people sort of think, aha, I'm spelling and they're not. I'm going to be the boss, and it's sort of like they're,
Well, you don't
They're a
make
little
them the moderator.
Yeah, they're sort of like being a little jerky about it. It's like, all right, dude, chill out. It's not your, you don't go with the quoting and then saying, dumbass, go away. You just edit it and move on. That's how the moderators
Yeah,
do.
because frankly, if they don't shape up, I'll just ban them summarily with
Yeah,
my
you
little,
don't need to-
my
you-
little court martial. That's basically I decide if I want to ban you.
yeah, being a jerk about it is not necessary.
With your big Thor
Only I
hammer.
get to be a jerk about it.
That's right. You just
The
edit.
Ben Hammer of Doom.
It's
Right.
not even Scott. It's all me. I'm the jerk.
Right. Anyway,
All right,
Cut.
we're done.
we're done.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com, or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.